Ladies and gentlemen, how are we? Let's go Washington, am I right? Yeah! I love those signs. I love to see them up. If you have any trouble seeing, sorry, the sign's in front of you. We love those signs. We love those faces. Let's get excited. I have the awesome opportunity to introduce from KVI Radio, Mr. John Carlson.
These crowds are getting bigger. Very nice. Thank you for being here on what is an historic day. An historic day because this is the day that marks that political power to transform Washington State, to restore and rescue Washington State, is not in the hands of single-party rulers in the buildings behind me. They're in the hands of the people here on the steps. For 7 years, we've had one-party rule that is increasingly adrift, extreme, arrogant, aloof, pass legislation and bills that do not serve the people of Washington State.
No, they don't.
That don't help the people of Washington State.
Don't respect the parents.
That don't respect the people of Washington State.
Amen. Amen to that.
But their rejoinder was always the same to the Republican parties in both houses. There's nothing you can do about it. And then a guy named Brian Heywood said, he said, there's something I can do about it, and that is to put the extreme agenda from one-party rule in Olympia before the people of Washington State and let them have the final word. And they will have the final word. We've got a wonderful program for you this afternoon, and I want to kick it off with a man who's made all of this possible. Ladies and gentlemen, the most consequential figure in Washington State politics today, Mr. Brian Heywood.
I don't know if I'm the most consequential. I think the 800,000 individuals who each signed an initiative are the most consequential in the state. 800,000 people said, we're tired of Olympia ignoring us. Every one of these initiatives went before the people. The people didn't like what the Olympia was doing and voted them down. And then I shouldn't do it here, but I do a Iago from Aladdin, you know. We're going to take the cracker and shove it down their throat. That's kind of what the Olympia did to us. And people are tired of having that cracker shoved down their throat. So today I am so moved by all the people that are here to come and show their support. We're gonna have several people are gonna talk to you, and I'll talk to you again at the end. But I want to start off saying I think there may be some people in the majority party here who are maybe taking a victory lap because they actually held. They're planning to hold 3 hearings. But when I was in school, and probably most of you were in school, if you turned in only 3 of your 6 assignments, that's an F. We expect them to listen to all 6 of these. There's 800,000 people that put their name and their signature and their birthday. You try to go get that. I would challenge anybody that says this was just an effort of one man. Try to go get anybody to sign their name on something, and it better be something pretty important. And I think we've got some fans over here from Fuse and some of the others. We welcome you guys. I know a lot of Democrats and independents signed these, and so we welcome you, Fuse, if you're here, or anybody on the left. We welcome you to join us and sign whichever ones you support. So you're welcome to be here. We thank everybody for coming here. We've got a lot of actually important people behind me, and then behind them even more important people. And we're going to hear from several people today talking about what these mean and why they matter. So, John, I'm going to turn it back over to you, and we'll keep moving down the line. Thank you, everybody.
Now, I've been told there are several candidates for governor here. I saw Dave Reichert is here. And Semi Bird is here. And Mark Mullet, the senators, I guess, are still in session. Mark Mullet is not here yet. Bob Ferguson, where are you? Stuck in traffic. That happens. It happens. The reason that we have the initiative process in Washington State, I've done a few initiatives myself over the years, is because sometimes Olympia loses touch. And when it loses touch, the people have the final word. We've not had an initiative in Washington State on the ballot in 5 years. And in fact, remember we used to have advisory votes, which, by the way, was the product of an initiative many years ago. And the legislature didn't even want advisory votes on the ballot, so they got rid of them. So people couldn't even say, here's how I would have voted on a strictly advisory vote basis. Boo! So again, Brian Heywood and Let's Go Washington said, well, if we're not going to have advisory votes, let's just vote on the real thing.
Great job, Brian Heywood!
And I want to introduce some of the people who are doing a lot to get Washington State back on track. Before I do, I want to take a quick poll for everyone here, and that is, how many people here know somebody who hasn't retired, but they have left Washington State anyway? Raise your hand, please. Okay. This is what's wrong. This is what's wrong. When people feel compelled to leave the most beautiful state in America because its politics have become so dysfunctional. And as a consequence, there was little recourse for people until this year. Believe me, those of you in the news media who maybe haven't been here in Washington a long time, what has happened with these 6 initiatives is historic. We've never seen anything like this in any year. Nothing approaches what we are going to be seeing in November. All 6 of those initiatives will be on the ballot. The only way that the majority party can keep them off the ballot is if they vote for them, but that means they're repudiating their own agenda. So one way or the other, the people will be heard. And for those of you who politically are on the other side, opposition research and whatnot, from organizations like Fuse, you know, we understand that. That's part of American politics. Beware, you might just end up voting for some of these initiatives yourself. That might happen. I'm wondering if we could have Raul Garcia, who is running for the United States Senate, to say a couple of words, because these are state initiatives. Raul is running for the United States Senate, and yet he is campaigning energetically for all 6 of these ballot measures. Raul Garcia, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, John, and thank you, Brian. This is sincerely the most significant thing that has happened in Washington in a long time. Thank you. And for me, it is special because for 11 years of my life, I was born in Cuba. I fell in love with a country before stepping foot on it because I believed that I could get to a country where the people's voice would count. And this is the clearest example of the voice of the people of the United States of America and to improve our state and our country. So I want to keep it very short, but I want to read those and say, let's go! Washington! Let's go! Washington! Let's go! Washington! Yes!
There's some great legislators helping to make this happen. I want to start by introducing one of them from Pierce County, Kelly Chambers. Kelly.
Thank you, John. It's so great to see so many people here today. I'm just so proud of our state and what 800,000 people can do to change the trajectory of our state. We want a safer state. Moms want to be able to go to the grocery store and not look over their shoulder. Parents want to know what's going on in schools. And so we want an affordable state. Every bill down here that they pass that makes it less affordable, you've said no, it stops today, and we're going to make Washington more affordable. So thank you for being here. Thank you, Brian, for what you did. We're excited to see this on the ballot.
And from Eastern Washington, Jenny, talk about someone with a compelling personal story. Jenny Graham. Jenny Graham.
Thank you. And this is absolutely wonderful. I'm excited that one of the initiatives for parental rights was a bill that I originally started that didn't make it in the legislature, but it was an important issue to the people, and with your help and your determination, that bill is going to be heard and your voice is going to be heard. The parents are the most important part of any child's life, and you should be involved in the decisions being made. We need a safe state, and we need a prosperous state, and these initiatives are going to help get us there. Thank you so much.
And from the 7th Legislative and 5th Congressional District, Jacqueline Maycomber. Jacqueline.
As the House Republican floor leader, when these initiatives came to us, we stood our ground and we said we want to be heard and we want to make sure you're heard. And I would argue that the people of Washington State have been heard. They have voted down a gas tax over and over again. They were heard. People decided they did not want a payroll tax, and they voted that down, and yet the legislature came back and voted for it. That is wrong. The people have been heard. The people know that they are less safe in their homes, and parents absolutely should be the #1 controller of their children's education. This is not a secret. And because of your strength and the people here, that the legislature came back and voted against having hearings. It is on the record, on party lines. This is not politics. This is people. And the people have been heard, and the people will be heard in November.
Jacqueline Maycomber, thank you. Just a quick reminder about these ballot measures. A couple of them were just alluded to. One of them, of course, would tell the legislature that police departments around the state can handle the issue of police pursuits just fine without any kind of supervision from out-of-touch lawmakers. We've seen the damage. The damage has been terrible, catastrophic. The roads are not safer. People are not safer. A thank you note from the auto theft industry, because Washington State is now 2nd in the nation in auto theft. 2nd in the nation. On the issue of Jay Inslee's invisible gas tax, the carbon tax, which not only hits people at the gas pump to the tune of about 43 cents a gallon,
Boo!
which I thought the other party opposed regressive taxes. But not only that, it hits people in terms of home heating fuel as well. The utility, very unfair. From the party that wants to outlaw natural gas hookups. It's another, where are they going to get the power? And it doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop there. We've got a serious problem in terms of the long-term care program, because the bill appeared to have written for the benefit of a union, not for the people who are advancing in age and getting on in years. And as a result, we are looking at a mandatory payroll tax for a program people did not sign up for. And as was mentioned just a moment ago, regarding the gas tax, people went to the polls twice. They went to the polls and said no to higher fuel and home heating costs for the purpose of Jay Inslee's climate agenda. And as soon as they had the votes, they rammed it through anyway. So this is not just, the rebellion here is not just against bad ideas, it's against the arrogance of power that we have seen accumulate over the years. Very important. I'm wondering if I can convince my friend Brandy Cruz, who has one of the most popular podcasts in Washington State, to maybe say a few words.
Specifically told him no, but I'll just say this off of what John just said about this really is, and it is for me too, it is about a pushback against a concentration of power. One party rule isn't good for people. If it were one party Republican rule, it wouldn't be healthy either. We see that in some of the deepest red states in the nation. You need a check on power. These initiatives have proven to be a check on power. And I would tell my former colleagues in the news media too, we have seen one party become increasingly bold about rejecting public disclosure requests, about exempting themselves from public disclosure laws. That does not happen. That will not continue to happen under divided government. And we don't have divided government, but we do have all these people who know that they have a right to initiative. And that right is very powerful, as we're seeing today.
It's another thing that makes this so unusual here in Washington State is that you're hearing politicians and pundits speaking. Notice how quickly these speeches are going. They get to the point. We appreciate that. Someone else who gets to the point, he's a little reticent, he's a little bashful. I think probably coax him toward the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, the state chairman of the Republican Party and state representative, Jim Walsh.
Well, look at this! So, do you want to fix what's broken? Yeah! Here's how we do it. We remind everybody on this campus, in that building, that Article 1, Section 1 of the Washington State Constitution says all political power is inherent in the people. We are going to have the best time reminding everyone this year that the people are in charge. So let's go through it one more time. We have 6 initiatives that will fix what's broken in Washington. 3 of them are getting hearings in the legislature next week and are likely, may possibly, get a vote and become law quickly before the session's over. And remember that if that happens, when that happens, the governor has no role. He doesn't sign these laws. He can't veto these laws. So again, the three that have hearings are the initiative that will state that parents and grandparents, custodial guardians, have a right to know what minor children are experiencing in school or in medical contexts. They have a right to know. We will know about all in good time. Another of the three that will get hearings and possible votes really codifies and strengthens our state's tradition of no personal income tax. It's an essential tradition of this state. It's what makes Washington, Washington, fiscally and in terms of business development. And then the one, and a couple, Jenny and a couple of others have mentioned, restoring reasonable police pursuit. Talk to anyone. Talk to any cop. Talk to anyone in law enforcement. Talk to a prosecutor. Talk to a shop owner. Anybody who has a retail operation. Anybody who has a small business. There's a lot we can do to fight crime in this state, to undo years of bad laws passed out of this building. But the one thing that will be most important to fighting crime is unshackle our law enforcement and let them chase bad guys. That are getting hearings next week, and we hope they'll get votes and become law quickly. The other three, they are going to go to the people, and they will be voted on in November, and the people will fix what's broken in three important ways. They will repeal the disastrous hidden gas tax. Just pennies, we were told. Just pennies. That wasn't true. It wasn't true then. It's not true now. It's never been true. You mean Anthony's a liar? I didn't say it. And you're going to hear, I'm sure many will, right? You're going to hear over the next few months that repealing this disastrous, deceitful tax is going to destroy everything. They won't allow us to keep roads. It will hurt the bridges. Lie, lie, lie. We can repeal this disastrous tax, and we will not affect critical infrastructure. Don't let them fearmonger and say otherwise. Repealing this hidden gas tax will do more for more people. And I don't care what part of the state you're in. I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. I don't care what demographic, what identity you have. This will help you live a better life. In November, the people will repeal, with Initiative 2109, the unconstitutional capital gains income tax. And yeah, I don't care what our friends who normally are in that building over there, but aren't right now because they're fixing it up. I don't care what the judges say. Every other state considers capital gains and income tax. The IRS considers capital gains and income tax. Capital gains tax is an income tax, and we don't do that here. And the last of the initiatives that the people will pass in November, Initiative 2124, simply allows choice with regard to opting out of the insolvent long-term care, which isn't really long-term, payroll tax. So enjoy this beautiful day. Enjoy this beautiful year. And remember, these initiatives, they are the first things on the ballot in November. The top of the ticket. It's not president, it's not governor, all due respect, it's not the U.S. Senate, it's none of the legislators. The top of the ticket this November is the people of Washington. What a day, what a crowd. Thank you, God bless you.
Jim Walsh, ladies and gentlemen, the man who literally needs no microphone. All right, please welcome another wonderful public servant from the Vancouver area here in Washington State, State Senator Linda Wilson.
Quite the crowd, and I am not going to get anywhere near loud as Jim. I can't even following his act. So I wanted to tell you what was going down in my district. So you talk about the gas companies, right? PSE, and how the Attorney General came out and said you couldn't put a line item on because it would confuse the people if you told them how much this was costing them, right? Well, in my area, we're covered by Northwest Natural Gas, and they're an Oregon company. And we started getting calls last week, and it's like, what the heck is this? They said more than that, actually. But they were looking at their bills, and Northwest Natural has line itemed the Washington Commitment, or Climate Act is what they called it. And it's crazy because I was talking to a gal 2 days ago from a staffer from Washougal. She works at Washougal High School, and she said, we got our bill, and it's increasing by $2,300 for 3 weeks. What? 3 weeks. That was it because the cost just changed. And so we said, wow. And she said, that's for one building. That's for just the high school. They have 8 other buildings. So we decided we were going to put out letters. So we are asking I think almost every one of us senators have put out a letter to every school district sent it to the superintendents, asking them to please send us information. We're getting it back. And then we're getting people who are not happy that theirs is not lined out, right? So we're getting, because we put ours out on Twitter and social media, and they're seeing, because we took the bill and put it on Facebook, and they said, that's not happening here, and so you're lying. Well, no, we're not lying. It's just that your company was told not to. You were prohibited from putting this on the ballot, or on the, thinking, on your bill. So not only that, but I have had a lot of people from Washougal, and we had a town hall last night, and they said, where is this? Nobody knows about this down here. What are you doing? How are you getting this out? I'm like, we are trying like crazy to get this out. We're Twittering, we're, all that stuff. but we have a lot of pissed off people in Washougal because they are getting the line item on their bill. So if we can, so I'm suggesting here, maybe contact, if you do have a PSE or a Vista, call them and say, what is the, you've got to have this information because they've got a credit on there for you, but they don't have the other line on there. So start putting pressure on them and say what, because I know PSE wanted to, but they were told not to. So, and then I wanted to tell you that as of noon today, so about 30 minutes ago, I don't know if anybody else has covered this, but we've had 1,184 people sign in pro on 2111, so the income tax, that's 90%. On the police pursuit, 1,254, which is 96.7%. And 2081, which is the parental notification, 1,194, which is 97%. Keep on coming.
We have just a few more speakers coming your way. And once again, I got to thank you. What a great crowd this is that turned out for the rally here today. Chris Corey from the Yakima area, of course, is ranking Republican on appropriations. You look relatively unscathed going through that experience. Real quickly, Chris.
Real quickly. Well, hey, good afternoon, everybody. You have heard from some people in the media, maybe in your social media circles, that these initiatives would cripple Washington State's budget. I've got some news for you. As the ranking Republican on the House operating budget, we've looked at the numbers, and Washington will be just fine. I don't know if your budget has doubled in the last 10 years, but the state certainly has. And not only can we afford to pass these initiatives, because we need to, without it impacting the bottom line of the budget, we can actually pay for all this stuff without having these initiatives. So the arguments you're going to hear, the sky is falling, the projects are canceling, it's simply not true. We have numbers to prove it, and here's a teaser. Next week, you'll have the numbers to prove it too. Let's go, Washington!
And second only to Jim Walsh in being soft-spoken and reticent, ladies and gentlemen, State Senator from Enumclaw, Phil Fortunato.
So just so you know, I am now standing against the most hated man in Washington because he had the audacity of taking his own money to fund this, to go out and get people to actually sign these initiatives. So, you know, I was on the Environment Committee when they were talking about cap and trade and all this stuff. So somebody came in and testified and said cap and trade. So the chairman corrected him and said, we call it cap and invest. So, you know, then later on they go, you know, any comments? I said, well, yeah, I have a comment, Mr. Chairman. I go, just to correct the record, we call it cap and tax. And then they asked me what my opinion was. I said, this is nothing more than a crony capitalist shell game. That's all this is. This is moving money around. It's nothing to do with the environment. It's everything about social engineering. And thank you guys for all coming out here to show support for this, to try to overturn this. Now, I will say that the three initiatives that they're talking about are the ones they feel that they can't win if they go up against us. Okay, that leaves the other three. That means they're going to put all of their money into the other three initiatives to try to oppose them. So we need more support after this, not less. So thank you, Brian. And thank you. And God bless America, and God bless Washington State.
And I'm wondering, is Anthony Mixer here? Anthony Mixer, young man, heads the Young Republicans, and getting young people involved in politics in any direction is an accomplishment these days. So we wanted to give you, Brian wanted to give you a couple of minutes to talk about what it's like there on the front lines trying to get young people involved here.
Well, thank you, and we do want to thank Brian Heywood for sponsoring these initiatives and putting his money forward to this. You know, the first thing I will say is this. This is not a billionaire trying to buy his way onto the ballot. These are the people signing their way onto the ballot. And yes, we as young Republicans, we're proud to help this effort to put these initiatives onto the ballot. The Climate Commitment Act, or cap and tax as it really is, it's hurting our young people at the gas pump. The long-term care tax is hurting our young people in the workforce. And it's a joke. And so we were happy to help out with this effort. And young Republicans are going to continue to help out with any more initiatives that definitely will come to the ballot. We have the hearings next week. We as young Republicans, we will show up and we will show the legislators that these policies are hurting us. Parental rights matters to many of our young members who have kids. So we want parental rights restored. So I won't take up too much time. God bless you all. God bless America. Let's go Washington!
By the way, just to make clear, even though we don't register by party here in Washington State, Brian went out of his way to try and find out the leanings of people who signed the initiatives. And here is what he found. 52% of the people who signed the 6 initiatives, 57%, there we go, the sign right here. 57% of the people who signed these initiatives are independent voters and Democrats. 43% Republican. And we're hearing a moment ago about some people have said that Brian Heywood is greedy. Excuse me. I've been in and around politics a long time. I know greedy when I see it. And when companies bankroll an initiative because it will benefit them politically, because it will benefit them economically, then you can make a case that that is greed. Brian Heywood is not supporting any of these initiatives because he's going to make money. Well, I guess you'll be saving 43 cents a gallon on gasoline. Putting up over $1 million to get that initiative in. I'm not sure you're going to get your money back unless you're driving for a couple hundred years. But I'll tell you what greed is. Greed is when your government is running massive surpluses and you ram through tax increases anyway. That is greed. That's those people in the buildings behind us. Greed is when you tell local governments, the best example of this just recently, just this past week in Kenmore, after holding hearings on whether to put a homeless facility downtown, their constituents said no, the city council voted against it. State government said, well, that's not leadership because you're not following us. So they tried to seize. There was actually a bill to seize the power from local government to do that. That's greed. We don't need any of that here either. And greed is when you take, again, 43 cents in higher gas taxes through your carbon tax, and then you lie about it and say you won't be paying any more than pennies. You might even be paying less. That's on tape. You might even be paying less. And then, when gasoline went up 43 cents a gallon, he blamed oil companies for conspiring, making it the first time in American history that oil companies conspired to only take money from people in one state. Again, it's that preposterous, it's that silly. But if you really want to fix greed, change the people making the decisions in Olympia. That's how you fix greed in Washington State. Brian Heywood, may I turn the program back over to you? Brian Heywood.
So you've already heard a lot. One of the questions that I get asked a lot is, why, if you're not a greedy bastard, why are you doing this? And one of the things I'll tell you, I grew up very, very poor in Arizona. Some of you have heard me say this before. I remember as a kid, in the 1970s, when the gas price spiked, we had to make choices. Do we pay this bill or do we pay that bill? And it hurts. And when you're making not a lot of money, but you're working hard and your dad's working hard, there's hard choices that get put on people. When the market does it, that's painful enough. But when the government does it on purpose, $300 to $800 a year just in your gas bill, just in your petrol bill, that hurts. When your groceries go up and you now live in a state with some of the highest groceries in the nation because the gas is getting more expensive and they got to deliver them, that hurts. And when your heating bill goes up when your school heating bill goes up $2,000 a month, that hurts the school and it hurts the budget. It hurts you in all these different places, and I feel that. And there was no one, it seemed, we were sort of frustrated, weren't we? There was a lot of it. So I would go around the state and talk to people. There was a lot of despondency, and people were moving out of the state. And, well, how do we make a difference? And so, I've got some compatriots that were trying to do some things that make some infrastructure change, but this is one that we could do right now. This is a way that the Constitution in this beautiful state allowed us to let your voice make a change right now, this year. And the response has been really amazing. First of all, as John mentioned, this was a bipartisan response. People would stop by and they might say to us, well, I don't like that one, but I'll sign these 2. Well, I don't like this one, but I'll sign these 4. And that's fine. And we welcome everybody from all across the spectrum to join us and vote for the ones that you support. That's the beauty of democracy. That's the beauty of allowing your voice to be heard. But then the other thing I would say is I've been sort of amazed at the response from the elitist snobs who are trying to force this stuff down our throat. One of the things that was most shocking to me was the recent inclusion, I guess, in the budget of, and there's no other way to call this than a bribe, a $200 bribe to low-income members in October, right before the election. I'm sure it's just a coincidence, just lucky timing. $200 to people if, just as a note, hey, by the way, here's a $200 rebate because we already charged you $600 extra, here's $200 back. And then if you vote the right way, in February, we'll give you more money. That's just an out-and-out bribe, right? And it's sort of shameful. I think they should be called on it. If your legislators involved in that, call them, send in a note. I would ask you to be involved. This kind of garbage is not acceptable, and we need to make a change. And I think this many people out on a, well, now it's becoming a sunny day. It was kind of cold at the beginning. This many people out and 800,000 people that signed is a statement to the elitist snobs that we're tired of it. This isn't. One of the things that also amazed me was let's talk about the long-term care for just a second. certain people will interpret it certain ways, but when I looked at it, if I, as a businessman, were to create a product that looked exactly like the long-term care, Bob Ferguson would be investigating me for insurance fraud. And in particular, I think one of the most offensive things in it is that they put a clause in that says you got to pay into this for 10 years, right? Okay. And of course you have to pay into it, everybody, where it's a mandatory thing. But if in that 10 years somewhere you take off 5 years or more before you get your 10 years completed, then you have to start all over back at year 0. Okay. Now let's take a young woman who graduates from college. She's 21 years old. She pays into this for 9 years, and then she decides to start a family. So she steps out of the workforce for 5 or 6 years, gets her kids into school. She decides to go back in the workforce. She now has to start back over, even though she paid into it for 9 years. She's got to start back over at year 1. It was designed that way. This isn't an unintended consequence. It was designed to screw over working moms. That's wrong. And that's not the only one that gets screwed over. Anyone that moves out of the state, any migrant worker, the poorest of the poor, the working poor, who are going to get covered by Medicaid anyway, are paying into this so middle-class people can have some sort of benefit that they didn't want to be a part of anyway. That's the kind of lies that we've got here. And I think that's the biggest insult, is that they really think we're stupid. They think we're stupid. Obviously, I feel differently. I think we're not stupid, and I trust that you guys are going to make good choices.
Yes, we will.
You made a good choice to be out here on a Friday afternoon, despite having jobs. I mostly want to say thank you. I've been given a lot of credit for this, but you don't get 2.6 or 2.7 million signatures by yourself. It's impossible. I tried to do it with just volunteers the first year. We tried to do 11 initiatives because, Spinal Tap. What we found the second year, when we decided to do only 6, was that we didn't have enough volunteers to handle the demand, right? 2.6 million signatures. That's 2.6 million in demand. We didn't have enough volunteers to cover that, so we needed to put some money up to get some professional signature gatherers to help us out, and they did. But there are a number of people here who came out and they said, man, I was out every Saturday gathering signatures, and thank you for that. I appreciate that. People told me they were knocking on doors in their neighborhood, and thank you for that. And this is one of the things I think is the most powerful thing about these initiatives, is that despite political blue-red differences, you can go to your neighbors in your neighborhood, and you might go, oh, I know that's the crazy this one or the crazy that one. But when you go and you take these initiatives to them, what I found when I talked, and I did a lot of time out talking at fairs and different places and gathering signatures myself, what I found is if you start talking to them about the stupid things that have happened and how this is going to help fix some of that, you get a lot of head nodding. Yeah, that's right. I don't think that parents should be kept in the dark from what's going on with their kids. It's not the content it's the secrecy, right? If the schools suddenly decided to do a whole bunch of secret Bible study classes that they were keeping from the parents, and then baptizing kids into some church, you'd be pissed off about that as well, and you should be, right? It's the secrecy. It's not the content as much as it is the secrecy. Parents need to be back where they're at. And you should be controlling your own wallet. And even more importantly, you should be able to afford to live in the state and not have to flee it.
Yeah.
So I want to thank everybody. I appreciate everybody coming out. Our work is not done. Again, as I said before, okay. If you guys know Sharon's the dynamo. She's got a bunch of business cards that you can write your name on and go and give these to, go into the building. You can actually go into these buildings. We taxes funded them. We're not disallowed from going in. You can go in, find your legislator's office, and you can hand them, you put your name on it, you can give them your business card and let them know that you support these. She'll be over here in the green tent if you want to get business cards afterwards. So that's one of the things that we'd ask you to do. Second thing is, I think we've got the QR code somewhere. Where are they at? Are they way over there? We've got QR codes that you can sign in, and you heard from Senator Wilson already that we've had over 1,000 people. Let's make it 5,000 people. Sign in and let them know that you're for these initiatives. Let your legislators hear your voice. We've got 800,000 people that gave their voice. Let's add another 5,000 or so today on these specific ones. And then the final thing is I would ask you to get involved and talk to your neighbors. We're not done. These are going to be on the ballot they're going to be on the ballot in November, and that's a miracle, right? We haven't done this in 5 years. We haven't had any. Now we're going to have 6, right? So thank you. Let me give. We've got a couple of candidates here for governor. If we had Senator Mullet here, we'd give him a shot. And if Ferguson came, I'd give him a chance to talk and explain himself, right? Semi and Dave, you want to come down here? And I'll give you just a quick minute. You take too long and you're going to lose votes. So
I'm just going to say thank you to the people. This is about the people. Thank you all for being here today. And my one near and dear to my heart, of course, police pursuits and children. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, everybody, for being out here today. Jim talked about it. Power is inherent in the people. Article 1, Section 1. So I'll be quick to say the rest of that story. Governments derive their just powers from the consent of the governed, and it's their job to protect and to defend the individual rights of citizens. We are going to bring back the Constitution to Washington State and preserve our rights for all citizens. All citizens. God bless you. Thank you.
Is Senator Mullet here? Senator Mullet is chairing a committee right now. And I want to just express some gratitude to him. He's expressed support for all of these initiatives as well. Go forth, do good, be nice, and let's make this state a great place to live. Thank you very much.
Thank you.